Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar. I am so thrilled to welcome the man on my right. He is probably one of my favorite podcasters and one of the most top people to know to talk about anything reality television with Survivor, Big Brother, Amazing Race. He is a Survivor legend. He has won 5 podcast awards, and he's celebrating 10 years of podcasting. Please give it up for the Rob Has a Podcast founder, Rob Cesternino.
Jacob, thank you. Yes.
Thank you so much.
So nice to chat again.
I know, guys. For those of you who do not know, Rob came on last year, and we did a written version on jakestake.com, which you can go on and catch it up. So it has been a year since we last spoke.
Yeah, almost.
So how have you grown as a podcaster?
I don't know if I've grown too much. I mean, I've certainly have had like a number of unique challenges to deal with in podcasting over the last year. I would say that this last year certainly has been very different from all the previous years. Just in the course of the year, we had everything. When you and I spoke back in the summer, we were talking about controversy in Big Brother 21. We had to deal with all of the controversy surrounding Survivor Island of the Idols, and then dealing with podcasting through a pandemic, and now with all of the upheaval surrounding everything that's going on right now. Many challenges that were not things that I imagined would be part of having a podcast 10 years ago.
I totally agree. And I got to say this is a big 10th anniversary year. And we got to rewind it to before the whole pandemic, before this whole chaos started. You were celebrating the incredible 10-year anniversary of Rob Has a Podcast with a massive Survivor know-it-all party.
Yes.
And featuring plethora of reality TV alums, such as from Amazing Race, Big Brother, Circle, and Survivor. So what did it mean to you to have not only the fans, but also a plethora of peers to celebrate with you?
Well, I really wanted to do something that was really fun for the fans. I really wanted to have this celebration of, it's been 10 years. And then also that it was also the culmination of, 20 seasons of Survivor and the premiere of Survivor 40, where it was all one night. And it was amazingly the same day. It was 10 years to the day from when I started the podcast during Heroes versus Villains. So it just felt like that there was so much coming together on that night. And, I'm really glad that just looking back, this timing wise, that it worked out, where had it been, 6 weeks later, we would have had to cancel the whole thing. And that would have been a real bummer, because we had such a great night that night.
Yeah. And also you had an incredible opportunity to go to the Survivors Winners at War premiere party and do the red carpet interviews. And you talked with Jeff Probst about the polarizing edge of extinction. So during your interview, Jeff revealed that Survivor would put the edge on hold for future seasons. So were you surprised that he revealed that to you during your red carpet interview?
Yeah, I hadn't heard that anywhere else yet. I'm not sure if he said the same thing to anybody else, or if he was giving an exclusive to me, where then he knew that, we had a lot of the internet fans. It was really going to be able to get that word out. So, yeah, I was very surprised that he said that. Ultimately, I was wondering, is the person going to come back and win from the edge of extinction? Is that why they're going to put it on ice for a little bit? It's I think good news in terms of, where the show wants to go in the future. But I definitely was surprised with a lot of things from that interview.
All right. So let's talk about Survivor's Winners at War. I want to talk to you about 5 different things, because we could go on forever about that. But you and Steven and everybody you've had on this year have done a phenomenal job. So there are just 5 questions I have.
Okay.
For Winners at War. So
I'll do 6 if you want, Jay.
All righty, perfect. All righty. So the old school players were eliminated left, right, and center. Amber, Danny, Ethan.
Yeah.
And in an ironic twist of fate, the order they got out in of Heroes versus Villains: Tyson, Boston Rob, Parvati, Sandra, then Yul, and then when Tyson won, he got back. He was eliminated after Adam. So Do you think that without the edge of extinction, Survivor would have lost some fans? Because a lot of the old school legends brought people back for the season, including myself. And I haven't been watching Survivor religiously for the past couple of years.
I don't think that they would have lost that many people had there not been the edge of extinction. I mean, what really was going on the edge of extinction? Like, once any of those players got to the edge of extinction, maybe you had like one or two Boston Rob moments on the edge of extinction. Boston Rob fighting to get back into the challenge, but there wasn't a ton of Rob and Amber footage where I can't imagine there were that many people that were like, yeah, I don't care about anything that's happening in the game, but I'm just going to tune in and hope that they show what Boston Rob is doing on the edge of extinction. Were you like that, Jacob?
I'll be honest with you, Rob. I really love seeing Ethan back, and Danny's from my hometown of Kansas City, so I kind of need to see what was going on, and with Ethan as well. So I was there, but however, I got to say I was incredibly impressed with the gameplay that was going on there. But like at the same time, there were some moments on the edge that were some of my favorite from the season, especially when they were when Natalie and Parvati found that thing for Tony.
Extortion.
That extortion.
Yeah. So, and they extorted Tony.
Yes. So we'll get more on Tony later. But however, another big topic was when Denise pulled the massive blindside on Sandra near the merch. So this caused Sandra to go to the edge of extinction. But after an hour, she became the only person to leave the edge this season, which signaled her retirement from the game. So that move divided the fan base. So why did that move polarize Survivor fan base, and does it hurt Sandra's legacy?
I think there are some people that want to get really ticky-tack of, that was a quit. You can't ever quit on Survivor. Never give up. You can't quit. But I think for Sandra, I think that one of her skill sets has always been she knows what she can do and she knows what she can't do. And I think that she's like, look, I'm not going to sit here. Not going to win a challenge to get back in the game. Not going to sit here and starve for, the next 20 days or whatever. And I'm not going to sit here with Boston Rob and Amber and Tyson and all these people that I don't want to hang out with. So for Sandra, there was no upside to sit there other than be on TV. And I don't know if they told them like, hey, you'll get the same amount of money no matter what, but you have a chance to get back in the game. She just came off of playing in season 39. She was on that whole season, or she was there in season 39. So I think for Sandra, she knew enough was enough. It didn't bother me.
And it didn't bother me either. The queen stayed queen. And for me, Sandra's one of the people that is one of my all-time favorites. So when that signaled retirement, I got tears. I got chills. It was like the end of an era.
Well, we'll see. I think it's a very soft retirement.
All righty.
The Michael Jordan NBA type retirement.
I agree with you on that. So before he left the game, Adam Klein did one of the most daring and shocking things during Tribal Council.
Yeah.
As he thought that Jeff's podium was a hidden immunity idol. And that move was a talk of social media. And if Jeff said it would have been probably one of the biggest game changers in Survivor history. However, sadly, it wasn't, and Adam was probably voted out. Do you think that Jeff might incorporate the Adam Klein idol into future seasons?
Yeah, I definitely think that is going to happen at some point. I mean, we've seen it in different international versions of Survivor, and they want big moves, they want shocking moments. I mean, everything that they do points to one day them having an idol at Tribal Council. So I think it will happen. It's just a question of when.
All righty. So one of the most emotional moments for me was when the survivors and the edge of extinction habitats received a loved one's visit. There were no competitions. It was Tyson's first family visit in all of these years he's done Survivor. So in your humble opinion, how did this loved one's visit stand out to other visits in the past?
Well, it definitely was unique in that they brought out all the families out. They've never done that before. And so that was like a really nice moment for everybody there. And certainly the people on the edge of extinction really appreciated that. I think that Survivor really wanted to sort of like celebrate like the journey of so many of these players where, Rob and Amber met on Survivor All-Stars and then ended up getting married, have a beautiful family together. And they wanted to sort of highlight, where everybody is at and how big of a part of like we've gotten to see these survivors, live their lives, sometimes on and sometimes off the screen. So I thought it was a really nice emotional moment. I think from a game perspective, the way that they had it in the game where it was at the final 10, which was very unusually early in the game. I don't think they've ever had it as early in the game. I do think that, where if you sort of like break the game up into like thirds or fourths, like that fourth quarter that kicks off after the loved ones visit, I think a lot of people were playing conservatively and they were saying like, hey, well, I just got to get to my loved ones. Like, I'm not going to make any big moves because my loved one is coming. And then you saw like right after that was when the game like kicked into another gear.
And that's when Tony Vlachos stole the game.
Yeah.
Stole the game. There was no one stopping him. And until Natalie Anderson came back from the edge, and boy, did Natalie deliver from the edge. Almost like, in my opinion, very close to Rick Devens if he actually succeeded and sent Chris Underwood out. So, but at the same time, Tony won, and the jury awarded Tony the win, and he became the second castaway in the show to win it twice, to 12-4-0 votes. And I felt a little bad for Michelle Fitzgerald. So, what were some of the key components that led to Tony's massive victory?
Well, I think that one was that everybody had a perception of Tony from his game in Survivor Game Changers, and then he came out there and he didn't deliver on that game that people were expecting. He was actually very calm and very passive, and he really was able to make people forget about him. I talked with a couple of the players like Sophie, who was probably open to voting out Tony early on in the game, and ultimately she didn't. She felt like, oh, all right, well, Tyson is trying to target the people who don't have any connection, so he's the bigger threat right now, so Tony can wait. And then ultimately he ends up getting through that first part of the game. During the swap, Sandra gives Denise an idol and says, hey, vote out one of the guys. He could have gone home at that point, and he got lucky that he made it through that tribal council. And then he got to the merge, and it was just like the idea of the lions and the hyenas really ended up taking hold, where people were more worried that the other big threats had made it to the game and said, hey, we got to make sure that all these people who are like the new school winners don't get together. And so he was able to keep the focus off of him until that point. And then he ends up at the point where he ends up making his big push, knocking out Sophie. And then he's got like a real path to daylight for him and Sarah.
Awesome. So since the game has ended, you have spoken with several of the winners at war, including Sophie. You also spoke with Wendell with Bryce on the Purple Pants podcast. And also you've had solo interviews with Adam Klein, probably the longest one I've ever seen. And then also with Ethan, with Kim Spradlin, and with Michelle. Mm-hmm. So what were some of the highlights from your in-depth conversations with them?
Oh, I love getting to talk to the Survivor players after the season and talk about, okay, what were you thinking at this point? Because everybody has a different story. There was the version that made the air, and then there was this person, okay, because nobody in the game is like, I'm going to make this decision, and I think this is the wrong move, but I want this person to win. But it looks like that when we watch the TV show, like, what was this person thinking? What was this person thinking? And it's great to get their individual perspective because everybody is always doing what's in their own best interest. So why did you think this was in your best interest? Why did you want to make this particular move? What were you thinking? Who were the people you wanted to go to the end with at this point in time? So it's always very, very interesting. And when you have everybody who is a winner, everybody's a good interview, everybody has a lot to say. Everybody also knows what it feels like to have things gone your way. And I think it's very interesting to hear the perspective of people who, for the first time for some of them, things didn't go their way. And what a shock that was to them.
So we're going to talk about, now we're done with Survivor. I think a lot of us are hoping and fingers crossing that we see Big Brother soon. Do you think we're getting Big Brother 22, or do you think we're going to have to wait until 2021? Yep.
This is my very uneducated opinion on this. I do think that we will have Big Brother 22 coming up in the summer. I think it will be later on. If I had to guess, I've seen that Robin Cass has posted on Twitter that that casting is closed for Big Brother 22. I think that we are waiting to see when a lot of production gets back being able to shoot. The Big Brother compound is, of course, located in California. So we're sort of waiting for businesses to be able to reopen and non-essential services to be able to open. Everything has been trending in that direction in terms of what things are starting to come back online. Nothing is back in production yet at this point so far here in California, with the exception of like news and things like that. So we'll see. We'll see if any of the like protests around George Floyd or anything like that affects the situation. Also, I don't think that should be something that's going to end up, closing down or slowing down the production. But again, it's 2020. We don't know what's next. So I do think that I would look for Big Brother that in the next couple of weeks for them to make an announcement of if it is safe for people to go back to work and film. Then I think that it's not that people say like, oh, well, won't the Big Brother house guests be the safest people from coronavirus? But it's not the cast, it's the crew that you're worried about. And I also think that, people are working very in close quarters, in like the production trailers and inside the walls. So you have that concern. Art department people like work very in close quarters, working with like materials and things like touching everything. So I do think that there are a lot of concerns, but I think that you'll probably end up seeing Big Brother happening. If I had to guess a start date, maybe around like August 1st, August 15th. And I think it's a show that would be very valuable to the CBS network because it is something that can air multiple nights a week. It's cheap and it's a quick turnaround where they can shoot it and then it's on, if not that night, a couple of days later. So something like that is very unique and valuable among all of the TV networks.
Awesome. So while we're on the topic of competition, earlier this year, you faced off against the members of the Rob Has a Podcast community during a special edition of Sequester.
Yes.
Can you describe the feeling of you competing on a reality TV as competition again?
So Sequester was a very fun night. I played against all of the RHAP podcasters and a couple other people, and it was a unique experience. It was very fun. It was probably more similar to my Survivor All-Stars experience in that I felt like I had no idea what was going on. Nobody really was sharing too much information with me, and a lot of people had many reasons to want to get rid of me. So I felt very much like the last time I played Survivor, although I had better results this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, are you kidding me? You got near the end.
Yeah, I was able to play the middle pretty effectively. I was able to ride out a rocky start, and then I sort of was able to identify, okay, there's this side and there's this side, and I don't know what's what, but I think I can sort of like keep the other two sides playing off of each other, and maybe even if one side is firing at me, I can always switch to the other side.
Alrighty, so let's talk News AF. It's one of my favorite podcasts that you guys do.
Yes.
And you, Danny, and Tyson are getting closer to 250th episode.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Have you guys thought about what you guys are going to do to celebrate?
Do you have any ideas for us, Jacob?
I would love one of these days to come on News AF and help you guys out one of these days.
Okay, what do you want to help with? Do you have like stories you want us to cover?
I love your technology stories. I love your science-based stories, especially with Nature with Tyson is taking off. So I would love to help out with that, but I love the technology stories.
Okay, maybe we should take some live calls for episode 250.
That would be perfect. I would love to be on them because you guys are really entertaining.
Oh, well, thank you. Tyson is so quick, and I think so many people got to see that back on Survivor. And Danny is so unappreciated, underrated.
All right, so please tell them I said hello.
I will.
All righty, so I want to also talk to you about Rob and Akiva Need a podcast because I was listening to the View episode, and I was like, oh my God, please, I wanted to come on and help you guys out so much.
Are you a big viewer of The View, Jacob?
Yes, I am. I've actually been watching the season since 2013.
Wow.
So the end of Barbara Walters and to
who's your
what's going
favorite
on right now.
person?
If I had my dream thing, it would be a 9-person table. Barbara Walters, Meredith.
9-person?
Yeah, like the Supreme Court of the View.
Yes. Okay. Supreme Court of the View. Go ahead.
Barbara, Meredith, Star, Joy, Whoopi, Rosie, Elizabeth, Nicole Wallace, and Sarah Haynes.
Wow. Was that 9?
Yeah, that's 9.
Okay.
Yeah, but rotating out Sunny and Anna in the future.
Okay. All right.
So you guys are getting closer to reaching your 100th episode as well.
Yes.
So what have been some of your favorite themes that you guys have talked about?
Well, Rob and Akiva Need podcast has been very, very fun. We started, I think it was going to be almost 2 years that we started it, where Akiva Wienerkur and I, we did a post-show recap of Seinfeld. We went back and watched every episode of Seinfeld in order, and then we stopped podcasting together for a little while. And I was sad I missed Akiva, so we came up with an idea for a new podcast. And we liked the idea of going back and watching old stuff, but we didn't have like another. I didn't want to do another rewatch. I was mired in the middle of a Game of Thrones rewatch, and so we ended up coming up with an idea, which was a wheel. And then we would spin the wheel, and then the wheel would give us whatever episode we would do next. And so here we are. We are 85 episodes into Rob and Akiva Need podcast, and we've done all sorts of different crazy things. We play a lot of games. That's been very, very fun. We had a Royal Rumble with a number of the Rob and Podcast podcasters where we got to watch.
I love that one. Seeing everybody go out in a melee style.
Yeah, that was very fun. We watched Akiva watched The View every single day of the week. We watched a lot of old movies. So it was very, very fun and very different than Survivor. It has its own following.
All righty. So this is my second to last question. So as Rob Has a Podcast 10th anniversary celebration continues, what should my audience expect from you guys?
Well, right now, we're continuing to track down interviews from people from Survivor 40. We're also going back in time and watching different Survivor episodes over the course of the summer to celebrate the 20-year anniversary of Survivor. We just did a podcast about the Survivor Borneo premiere. Next week, we're going to take a look at the second episode from Survivor Australia. And then the week after, we're going to take a look at our favorite third episode of Survivor, all the way culminating in a rewatch of the original Survivor finale later on this summer. And we do our wand-offs as well. So we are, tracking down interviews. We are creating original content and continuing News AF and Rob and Akiva.
Awesome. And by the way, you and Steven did the fabulous job with the Borneo episode.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
All righty. So where can my audience reach you on social media?
I am most active on my Twitter at Rob Cesternino. I also have Instagram, not as active on the Insta as I should be. But really Twitter is the best way to reach me.
Awesome. So guys, thank you. For more information about the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast, it's on Apple, Spotify, and Spreaker, and also Google+. And also you can reach me on social media on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Jacob Elyachar, JACOB ELYACHAR. And also, if you want to look up my original interview with Rob and more stories, including alumni from America's Got Talent, Big Brother, The Challenge, and so much more, head to jakestake.com. Once again, jakes-take.com. Rob, thank you so much for coming on. I always enjoy talking with you. You are probably one of my biggest role models when it comes to the podcasting and content creator game.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Jacob. Thank you so much for having me. Jacob, what's the best way for people to contact you? What's the best social media for you?
I love Twitter. Twitter. Instagram.
Boom. Yeah. Twitter. I'm a typer. Let's go. Even though I'm not a writer, short typing. I like that. It's like you have a quick question. I can answer it quickly. Instagram. It's, I post talking, it's not as much for me.
I agree. So it has been fabulous. And thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it and have a great day. Bye.